Spanish was my first language. I went to Memorial High School, so I grew up around 36 West Commerce area, 36 Culebra, those types of areas. I'm entering my 5th year teaching, but it's been a journey. But one thing that I do take out of this, like they ask me, why do I want to be a teacher? Why did I want to help kids and stuff? Why do I want to do that? And the thing that I want to say is that I grew up without a father, and I grew up without that strong role mentor in my life. I really didn't have someone to cling on to.
So I think it's a huge advantage, super huge advantage. You know, these kids sometimes want to use that, you know, like, well, you don't know what it's like, and maybe for some reason they don't see that in me, that I grew up in a place like this. And I come right to them like, you know, hey, I know exactly what you're going through. You know, I got friends who still live in the neighborhood. My parents still live in the house that I grew up in. I know exactly what you're going through. You know, I slept through gunshots and you know, the train passing by every so often, and I'm able to build that camaraderie with them, and it kind of like makes them look at me in a different light. And they're like, "Oh, Mr. Alvarez, that's pretty cool, man. I didn't know." Like, so they kind of open up and they start talking about what they go through, and it's kind of put a light on where I want to head in the future for myself. Maybe even, you know, become a counselor or a principal.
That drive to succeed is always there, and the pride to succeed is always there. The need to learn, to make yourself better, to grow every possible way is always here. I think I told somebody, I teach so I can learn. The poor kids think, they think I'm teaching them to learn. I'm learning. I'm learning, probably learning a lot more than the kids are learning. I want to learn. I want to learn how things work. I remember when I was growing up, a young kid, no wristwatch was safe in the house. So when they know I'm in the house, everybody hide their wristwatch, because I will find it and I'll open it to see how it works, and I will take it apart and I want to put them back together. I never succeeded, but after a while, nobody will leave a watch around, because no matter how much they torture and yell or something, I will still go find that watch. Same thing with electricity. I always wonder I put a needle in there, shock myself, blew me to the other side, I passed out, woke up, got punished, went back and tried again. Because I want to say, so I want to see. So when I did that, something happened. This happened, and okay, why? I'm curious. But then I was young. I didn't really know that there are methods to doing this. I just was bullying, forcing my way through. Yeah. So curiosity is always there.
Go get him, Adrian. Oh, it's all right. It's all right. Let me tell you something. Come here. Come here, Dad. Come here. You went after him.
It's all about
That's all I want is you to go after him. Don't be afraid.
Good job,
Don't be afraid. You're coming after him. Hey, good job.
There's so many single parents out there. And I've come across so many kids that need father figures, that need that. And they talk to you, and they come up to you, and they just want to talk. They just want to talk about whatever. And you can tell that a lot of these kids are you know, wanting or needing someone to be in their life. As coaches and as teachers that we are, you know, something we're fathers, we're mentors to them, we're counselors, we're teachers, and you know, we try to help them become better people, you know, and that's what I usually tell my athletes and my students. We're trying to make you become better persons.
Hey, Miguel, you're doing good, bud. You're doing good. You're doing good. I'm proud of you. We're their other role models, you know. I don't have any kids on the team right now. I'm my own children. But I love it. I wouldn't trade this. I wouldn't trade none of this for the world, man. None. No paycheck can pay me the gratification I get out of taking care of these kids and coaching them.
You can see where, you know, some of the simple multiplication, division, they're struggling, and it makes you feel like, you know, this stuff is They may not see it as being very important now, but you know, when they find themselves in a career, you're going to have to multiply fractions or divide fractions and understand all that process. And if you can't get it now, I mean, we got to get you going. You know, I got to dig deeper. We got to find out what's the misconception you have here. Let's get to a point where, you know, you're going to ace this STAR test that we've been trying to get you ready for all year. You know, they got a pretty big wall that they put up against everyone. You know, it's hard for them to trust anybody. So when you sit there and you give them a little extra time, especially the ones that need it, they kind of feel more relaxed and say, okay, well, maybe he does show, maybe he is showing he cares more. Maybe I should try myself harder. And it's just that commitment that they need sometimes, you know, somebody they can trust. You know, they kind of need that nurturing, you know, and that's, for the most part, been something that women do. And that's why you probably see more female teachers in this role. But I think it's, we kind of need to make a change where they need to see a leader and know that there's a chance for them to get to that point as well. So it's definitely got to be an advantage for us Latinos to show that these kids, like, hey, you know, I came from where you came from. It's possible for you to do the same.
So if you have a 40x here, right? So what is the total? 40 times 110. That is so when you are looking at this actually 400x. And that's what they call, write this down, total magnification. Those things really define why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I made that promise that if I can help any kid go straight through the process, don't go through all these problems that I went through, racial judgments and all that, I will help them. I have a strong goal of helping people of color, minorities, especially females, as much as I can, because we have a lot of issues, and this shouldn't be an issue, but unfortunately it is. I'm going to start with somebody. You start with what we did. Don't worry if you're right or wrong. If the person is right or wrong, correct them, right? Say, oh, by the way, we did this. Then I say, stop, you pick somebody else to continue. And say, stop, you pick somebody else to continue. What are you doing to get the kids to work? That's what was my thing. So they can call it this and that. That's nice. And the most important thing is, how can I adapt it to fit my class? I'll find any way to get them, encourage them to think positively about their abilities. To me, I don't believe that being poor means, it only means you're poor. It doesn't mean you're poor up here. If I give you the right tools, you can succeed. Because I was also poor. You know, if I give you the right encouragement, the right molding, you will succeed. Most of the rich people at one time, they were poor too. They had to work their way through. So you do the same thing. And also have this thing that I always tell my kids, if a human being did it, guess what? You can do it.
A lot of people think that faculty, for example, they went through the process without any issues. Although it's ironic to say this, but I'm sort of proud in a way to say is that I'm a college dropout. You know, so my first year of college, I didn't make it. You know, so my parents never went to college, so they didn't really understand. I'm a first generation, you know, a student, and I was born in Puerto Rico, so I'm a Puerto Rican descendant. I've been in the United States for many years. I've been here. I came here in 1982. So I went to college. I didn't make it. I started as an electrical engineering. I came home. I told my parents, I failed, but I'm going to apply to another college, and I did. And I got my degree in psychology from the Inter-American University in Puerto Rico. So it was a faculty who came to me and said, you know, Edwin, you should consider a PhD. And I jokingly said, well, that's a great idea, but what is a PhD? You know, so I didn't know what it was. And so I went home and I told my parents, once I graduated, I'm going to go to the United States. And I did not speak any English, so they were very scared, and I didn't know anybody. So they were scared of what was going to be next to me. But I literally took a plane and came and arrived in St. Louis, Missouri. And it was there that I met different people, but another area of my life was that I was homeless. in St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't have a place to stay, so I lived in Salvation Army. So it was not an easy transition for me, and so I worked in hotels, and I was learning English in the process, and eventually I got a more stable job, and then I began a school, after that. So my journey to becoming a faculty has not been an easy straight line. And now, after years, I'm a neuroscientist, so I study the brain, and that's what I love to do. And the brain is an amazing structure. So, and I'm a psychologist, so my area is biopsychology, and I study how people learn and how we store information, how the brain stores information. So the next step for me is, okay, what is the legacy, that I want to make? So I've been successful. I went to an assistant professor, associate professor, and now I'm a professor. And I was a chair of the Department of Biology for 8 years, and it's the largest department here in UTSA. And after that, I became an associate dean for student success and instruction and innovation. That's my current title now. There are a lot of men in academia. There are not enough men of color in academia. But a crisis that we're having, that even when you look at the makeup of our population of students, undergraduate and graduate, in many disciplines, is that there are not that many men of color that are pursuing even a degree. So one thing that I do, I work with my brother's keeper, San Antonio, and I'm the chair of the post-share committee, of the post-secondary committee, that we try to figure out how to get more men of color to pursue the discipline, all the way from being in elementary school, middle school, high school, and obviously college.
The value of being a Hispanic male, number one, is I'm different. I'm not typical. I'm not what they're used to seeing. When I was interviewed, one of the questions was, do you think it's important for there to be a Hispanic in the role of a principal on a campus that's primarily Hispanic? And I said, yes, I think so. I mean, you can do without it, but truthfully, it changes how people see education. It changes how they see what they see as possibilities. Because I become more than a principal. I become a possibility. I become something that they can become. If I can do it, you can do it. And I tell my kids that all the time. If I can do it, you can do it. I know growing up, you didn't think so much about being a teacher. It was something that somebody else did. It was something, especially if you were Hispanic, that was not something you did. You went into the trades. You got a career field. You got something else. But teaching is a career field. And it's more, like I said, it's more than a job. It's a vocation. It's something you do because you really want to make a difference in kids' lives.
And what about being a teacher, And I always get the questions like, when are we ever going to use this, especially from algebra students? And when are we going to use this again? And I'm like, well, when you become a teacher, And they're like, well, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, why not? There's a great opportunity, great chance to further your education and to better your life. I mean, the opportunity is immense.
Work hard in whatever you do. Be the best at it. If you're washing dishes, be the best at washing dishes. Just little things like that. And believe it or not, those resonate to today. I talk to my students about working hard, about palabra común, your word as a man. I talk to my athletes on that. If you're gonna say you're gonna come to tutoring, I need you here. If my tutoring's at 4:30, I need you here at 4:30. And that's your word. And I'm talking, and I talk to my students like this. We're talking, and sometimes I would tell them, I'm not just talking to teacher student. I'm talking to man to man.
We got a huge force behind us, so let's push to be better. Let's make those opportunities better for ourselves. So if you want this, you got to work for it. Put in the work, come to class, be on time, and learn, and you're gonna progress.
The ones that I think were the best, and those are the ones that I try to grow in my own school, are the ones that are in there and they want to connect with kids. They see the value of what they're doing in growing these kids up. They have these connections. And those kids come back and say, if it weren't for you, and in Spanish, si no era por ti, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am.
Celebrate that cultural difference and use it as a tool, as a resource to teach the kids. It's very important that in a country where you have all these cultures, this dynamic, positive, radiant mix of people. It's very important that we use all of those things to teach. Use everything at your disposal to teach positively.
And so I realize that there's a great responsibility that goes with this, a responsibility to uphold the highest values, to do the very best I can, to give all I can give every day as long as I'm going to do this. Young folks who are looking at a career field, this is more than a career field. If you want something that's going to be fulfilling, you want something where you can feel not just content but proud of what you've done, education is a great way to go. And we need more Hispanic administrators. We need more guys who are going to step up to the plate and take this role on.
We're about halfway done with practice. Okay, so now it's time to put it in overdrive. Let's get our hype up, Chad. We get that lap, get a quick water, and we're gonna run a circuit. You got it? You got it? All right, here we go. You ready? Give me 2 beats. Give me 2 claps. Give me Ric Flair.
Work hard and whatever you do, be the best at it. If you're washing dishes, be the best at washing dishes. You know, just little things like that, and believe it or not, those resonate to today. You know, I talk to my students about working hard, about palabra común, your word as a man. I talk to my athletes on that. You know, if you're gonna say you're gonna come to tutoring, you know, I need you here. If my tutoring's at 4:30, I need you here at 4:30. You know, and that's your word. And I'm talking, and I talk to my students like this. We're talking, and sometimes I would tell them, you know, I'm not just talking to teacher student, I'm talking to man to man.
As a faculty and as a teacher, we can inspire others. And we can leave a legacy that no other people can make. If we don't basically educate the changing demographics that we're having, underrepresented minorities in both, you know, women and men, we're going to have a problem, you know, and we already have a problem, you know. So having people like me, like us, in the classroom can inspire others to pursue the discipline and to do better.